1955. And of course, token female Sammy, who hot-footed it here. She barely made it, but she's here. Thank you.
I'm slightly out of breath, but hello.
Thank you very much. And a welcome, well, I say welcome return. A return due to massive public indifference for a very tiny man. I can barely see him in the studio. It's Dan.
Thank you for that once again.
Dan, I'll throw to you instantly before we get to the next tune. How would you summarise the Steve Show? What's the Steve Show's raison d'etre? What's its mission statement?
Oh, it's all about introducing new music, Steve, to the listeners. But
thank you. At least you know.
That's both new music and old music that you may not have heard yet.
Correct.
Thank you.
And is there a dictatorial music policy from me?
Absolutely. Everything is oh no, hang on. No, it's everybody's show, Steve. It's a BBC show. It belongs to everybody. You think there's a great tune that should be played? Why not email in or text?
Sure.
It's interactive.
No, you've summarised it beautifully. And before we chat to you guys and find out what you've been up to this week, and before we get to some of the live music that we have in this week's show, live music that has come to us down various wires, BBC wires, from Victoria Park in Glasgow, the Indian Summer Festival is on there. We have a track from The Rapture after we've heard from The Pigeon Detective. New single from the Pigeon Detectives, released 13th of August, that's Take Her Back. It's a Steve Show BBC 6 Music, as I said just now. I've had a difficult week. I'm going to cut to the chase. I was bounding out of my house, another good day in Prospect, full of laughter and love. And I'll be honest with you, I was foolish. I was wearing a ill-fitting pair of loafers. Oh, I slipped on a lower step. Oh, ankle. Oh, twisted me ankle. And, I'm not one to whinge. But I'll tell you, everyone I know has had a text or email, I think, from me detailing the pain that I've been in. And one of those things where it seemed okay to begin with. I thought, I'm fine, I'll just hobble off to work. Ooh, work. Yeah. And it's been grim. I've had it bandaged, all sorts. And so I was thinking, because the frustrating thing I always think with things like a little twisted ankle is that it could have been avoided. I wasn't drunk, I wasn't hobbling along a wall, making merry or trying to show off to people. I was just out and about. Twist, bum, that ruined, whinge. And and how curious I should come in today, and Rufus, you're in a similar situation.
Steve, I've got to tell you, this may merge with the most interesting thing that's happened to me this week, but I've got an injured back, very, very bad injured back, and this is partly due to the fact that, as regular listeners will know, I'm an actor and have been fortunately filming a BBC 4 forthcoming period drama, The Memoirs of Fanny Hill.
Sure. Nothing funny about that.
Nothing funny about that. So there I was doing a scene with Fanny.
Right.
As Mr. Norbert, stammering, but
do you
the
like
nine
Fanny?
aristocrats. Yes.
You do?
I'm a little bit in love with Fanny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Aren't we all?
And we were filming a sex scene.
A what?
A sex scene.
Now, I've heard about these.
Yeah. It was very tame. Fanny was dressed in a thin camisole and had 3 pairs of pants on.
Right, yeah. You had 8?
I had 2, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A thick towel was pressed between our crotches to minimise any sort of discomfort.
Towel.
A thick IKEA towel.
Right.
The back of my pants was safety pinned to a sheet so that my rump never appeared at any stage.
Right.
So I had 2 pairs of pants and a sheet. My back was exposed. But as the director of photography and the lighting guys were getting everything ready, I was kind of in the prone position, and I felt something just go in my back a little bit.
Right, you felt something suddenly get stiff.
That's right.
Ding dong, what's happened here?
There we go. At the same time, I was struggling with the fact that the stage direction basically said I at the point of the little death, as it were, I suddenly have a heart attack and die.
Wow, this is an amazing acting job, surely.
So what I was kind of doing was 2 noises and 2 faces. I was very much doing a face of pleasure and then a... But then the director gave me the very precise direction that maybe make it just 1 sound and 1 face.
Right.
Because 2 faces, 1 for the little death, and then a pause, and then...
Sure.
I very much...
Makes it a touch comic.
It does, exactly. Yeah. So I very much changed those 2 faces and 2 emotions into 1 emotion and face, which webcam people might be able to bring up, which was a kind of look of bliss, and...
which is very much the face, many of us have... generally anyway.
What, at the point of the mini death, or
but also just generally,
yeah,
on the tube, buying candy.
Yeah. So it was embarrassing to be told what sort of face and noise I should be making at the point of the little death. But nonetheless, I was quite grateful.
Now,
for
obviously, we've enjoyed the faces here in the studio, but obviously people have to wait and watch on BBC 4 to see those in full Technicolor.
Yeah.
But we look forward to that enormously. Was there, before I get onto the back pains, was there a slight anxiety in the prospect of a sex scene? I would imagine it's quite intimidating.
A little bit, yeah. The thought of anybody seeing it, apart from you guys, really, here in the studio, was a bit embarrassing. Thought of my mum seeing it, very embarrassing.
Yes. And no anxieties about the actual act and what may or may not happen?
Not really. Whether or not something happens during a sex scene, during the filming of it, you say to the lady with whom you're filming, listen, I'm sorry if I do. I'm sorry if I don't.
That's brilliant.
Because that clears
the mood.
Exactly, lightens the mood, and it makes it very clear that if something wasn't to happen, it might be embarrassing for both of us, you know.
But nevertheless, you've had a creaky back the rest of the week.
I have, yeah. I've been limping around, and I had to miss the Aqualung gig on Thursday, which some of the guys in the studio went to, so I was just in too much pain.
But the frustrating thing with both the back twinge and the ankle twist is that they are annoying and unavoidable ailments.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, I'll probe these people later about that. But 64046 stephen.6music@bbc.co.uk if you have had just frustrating ailments, you know, just tiny little things which, you know, are not great burdens, but which just ruin your day, week, festival, or whatever. I mentioned festivals as a seamless link into this live track. We've got some live tracks on today's show from, as I say, the Indian Summer Festival up in Glasgow, and this is the first one. House of Jealous Lovers, recorded live, The Rapture. So you heard recorded on the main stage yesterday at the Indian Summer Festival, The Rapture and the House of Jealous Lovers. And then the next hour, if you're interested in such things, then we have a live track also recorded at the festival from Polytechnic. Stay tuned for that. We were talking prior to The Rapture with Rufus and his agonising sex scene. It's rare that you're in a room with, half a dozen people, and at least two of them have filmed sex scenes. I know, Harry, you've probably had cameras turned on you in those, that's largely for your internet work. But Shijay Sammy, you've also been in that situation.
I certainly have, and fairly recently as well. I do a little bit of acting from time to time. I keep my hand in, and I did a film before Christmas, which is about dogging. It's yet to come out.
Right.
And it was the first sex scene I'd ever had to do, and it is really scary. It's not what you expect. I actually wrecked the dashboard of a Mini with stiletto boots.
But what about the filming? Come on, award-winning. Because that's obviously making it doubly hard because you're in a car, a Mini.
Yeah, it wasn't comfortable, I'll be honest with you.
Did you have people watching around the car, as is the want for doggers?
I had a gear stick up my backside, which wasn't very pleasant. It really was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done.
Right. You know we're on the radio. Just remember that.
Yes, of course. There were doggers around the car. Not real,
right.
Of course. But we were very well lit, I think is the best way to put it. And we had to do a scene over the bonnet of the car. And there's a building by the quayside in Newcastle called Spiller's Wharf, and it's white. And we were filming at night. And literally in silhouette was me and this other actor right up the side of the building, probably about 50 foot tall, in the most lewd position, attracting cars from miles around. What the hell's going on there? And yeah, we got a lot of attention, which was a bit uncomfortable.
Like when they had that I forget her name, the girl who was Gail Porter on the side of the you mate, that's probably before your
Not
time.
as attractive as that, but yes.
Oh, come on.
Oh, it was horrible. It really was. It was just ugly and.
A lot of Sammy fans are thinking, when is this film out?
I really don't know. I don't really care because my parents are also in this film.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard about your father in the past, and he's a joyous but eccentric man. How the hell is he also wound up in a film about dogging?
Well, he came
Are there
along.
8 people that live in Newcastle?
They came along to be extras, and I literally thought they were just going to stand in the background. Nope, don't give my dad a chance. The director went up to him and went, would you be interested in being a dogger? And he's like, yeah, do I have to take all my clothes off? That's fine. And I will go, no, just stop it, please. And he loved the fact it was killing me inside. He loved it.
So
my mum, not so keen, but they...
So your mum and dad?
Yeah, in the back of an American car... Probably some sort of big cortinery type thing, while the ants of Adam and the Ants are in the front strumming guitars.
This is the weirdest film.
You see, the weirdest film. This is the weirdest thing to happen to you as a child. Imagine your parents doing
What do
this.
you mean a child? You're not a child.
30 of your new friends watching your parents have fake sex, and as the director shouts "cut," your dad keeps going because he's deaf.
Because he's deaf, or because he was actually...
I don't want to think. I think it's because he's deaf, and that thought doesn't, it lets me sleep at night. But oh god, it was really horrendous. I'll be honest.
You've got to get out of that. You've got to get away from these people. They're driving you insane. This is why you spend Saturday nights in a tent. You don't know what's normal.
I don't. Well, last night was a bit of a washout. I ended up kicking a sweet potato around Sainsbury's car park. That was the high point of Saturday evening. There you go.
Let's come on to that, shall we? After we've heard the tune that you're going to suggest for us this week, what have you got?
I've got Ben Hales, and it's a song called Hey, and it's from his album Value Music, and Duke Special is doing the singing on this. It's very lovely.
Thank you. Do you want to tell me more?
About what? My parents' sexual antics or this song?
I was thinking about the song, but whatever you feel, whatever you think will fill a couple of minutes.
As far as I'm concerned, Steve, they had sex once. That was to create me, and ever since, it's just been sleeping with a massive void between them.
Anyway, Ben Hales.
Yes, what a lovely hairy man he is. He's kind of his brother with facial hair, and they're both beautiful. We went to see them. A few of us went to see The Lung a couple of nights ago, and it was absolutely astounding. It took the wind out of my sails, it did.
Well, I don't want us to think that this is just going to become a Hales-obsessed radio show, so we should say that we like him, but there is other music to be heard.
There's other music out there.
And we'll have some of it after the news. Before that, I just wanted to squeeze in a tune, Songs to Seduce Women by... or songs by which to seduce women that you fancy, if you want to be grammatically correct. And I thought this would be a nice one because it's kind of it's got more of a teenager angle to it. It's it will appeal out there if you're perhaps 14 and you don't quite know how to proceed. Then you can stick this on the compilation. Juliana Hatfield, and I'm reminded by Jude that this featured on the Reality Bites soundtrack, an album I never listened to, and which I've also bizarrely chosen a track from later as well by mistake. So I apologise to anyone who hates the Reality Bites soundtrack. But anyway, Juliana Hatfield, Spin the Bottle. Juliana Hatfield, Spin the Bottle from ages ago. Supposedly, I seem to remember at the time, somebody written about Keanu Reeves, although I don't know if that's true, and I would hate to say that were the case if it weren't. Lest Reeves come down on me like a ton of bricks. I imagine he's got lawyers listening at all times. But yes, it was very nice, we add that to the Seduction CD. After the news, we will have more music, plus tunes from the Pigeonhole, and also, as live music from the Indian Summer. And also keep your texts coming, your emails about just completely and utterly frustrating injuries and ailments. For instance, I remember my father once when I was young, he was carrying me from the car, having brought us back from holiday, slammed his thumb in the car door. Couldn't sleep. Had to go down to my uncle's, who got out one of those kind of little hand drills and drilled a small hole in it in about 4 a.m. to let out pressure. That's what we do down in the West Country. We don't go to the doctors, we do it ourselves. DIY. Maybe you've got stories of DIY surgery. 64046 stephen.6music@bbc.co.uk. Back after the news. Apparently also feature that film with Ben Stiller and all that were involved with it, but that's Squeeze and Tempted from the 80s. I'm so well informed. And yes, we were asking you, it's a Steve show by the way, Steve Merchant here, we were asking you before the news ailments and what I'm really interested in are those kind of frustrating little things that could so easily have been avoided, not a terrible car crash or something, obviously that's awful, but just those tiny frustrating things that ruin your day, your week, perhaps a splinter. Always annoying. That's so frustrating. And Harry, you've been keeping an eye on the text 64046.
Yeah, well, we imagine the Steve Show listenership to be a fit young army of students and other assorted nerds, but it turns out they're not. They suffer like the rest of us. For example, Ellen in Texas.
Texas?
I know. For the last week, she's had a baseball-sized cyst on her bum, and it oozed like a gremlin, and she had it drained by an Eastern European witch doctor with a needle the size of a telescope. So
there are so many questions that I couldn't even go into.
I know.
Could she sit down?
No. I think she's not sat down for 6 days. Which is bad. Paul in York is suffering from bad cramp in his jaw. It makes his jaw lock when he yawns, making him walk around for 5 minutes looking like a target of fun fair. Which is great. You imagine people walking around shooting water into his mouth.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. I've always been terrified of lockjaw.
Yeah,
the fear of lockjaw. You hear about it because it's like I like the days when they used to name ailments and illnesses with a terrifying name. Lockjaw, the Black Death. It's like it's already grim enough. You don't need to give it another name. People are already terrified of it. But lockjaw, just the idea of waking up one morning, it would just be horrific, wouldn't it? But have you had lockjaw? But yeah, Harry, are you someone who suffers from those?